So I was watching a video today. It was by this guy named Michael McKelvey. I guess he does like sports videos. And this one was titled, Does Losing Lead to Winning? And it was about mostly basketball. He was going over statistics and saying how teams, when they're winning in basketball, tend to be more risk adverse. The common saying is playing not to win, but rather to not lose. So they were not taking risks. They're extremely risk adverse. And in the case of like the basketball teams, they tend to play a lot worse. They tend to lose their lead pretty commonly. They like lose the lead, but it'll be the game they'll be winning by 20 points, and then suddenly they're only up by like 5 points. They don't always go to being like losing the game completely, but they tend to, go closer, become a lot closer. And he starts talking about risk. Not just this is applicable, of course, to sports. In this case, he's talking about basketball, but also to life, and something that I really believe in, and that is you can't avoid risk. There's no way to completely avoid risk. Even the act of avoiding risk is itself a risk. He gives some example about people who work extremely safe jobs, or stuff like that. But I think an even more pertinent one is just never leaving the house. Every time you step outside the house, you run the risk of something terrible happening. I don't know, like getting hit by a car just randomly. But if you never leave your house, in one way, you'll never run the risk of getting hit by a car, but you also run the risk of never doing anything like pertinent with your life, anything completely noteworthy, experiencing anything worthwhile. So the act of not taking risks is, in other ways, taking a risk. Just depends on how you view it. And I kind of seen this in my own life. I decided to work in healthcare, partially because I never run the risk of not having a job. I pretty much can find a job very easily. I'll always have a job. It's not like if I worked in the tech sector where it's very hard to get a job. They're a lot better. The jobs tend to pay like extremely well. They have a lot of perks, all this good stuff. But if the recession happens, you're going to get laid off. And people like in the finance sector, stuff like that, like they just have a higher risk. Say there's a recession going on, of just not having a job. But in other ways, you run a lot higher risk of other things. Alcoholism, burnout, divorce. Like these are all things I've seen in myself and my coworkers. It's a very stressful lifestyle. So you can't avoid risk completely. You can only manage risk, try your best to minimize it, measure it in some ways. So just something that I've been thinking a lot about lately. And also, on the subject of the actual video, does losing lead to winning? And I really believe that as well. And also the converse, does winning lead to losing? Winning leads to complacency and, a lack of effort, that risk aversion that I was talking about earlier. Just a lot to think about. And I really enjoyed that video. I'll link it in the description. Michael McKelvey, something like that. That was the name of the guy who made it. It was very, very impressive. But yeah, that's all I really got to say. I'm still a little bit sick, so this wasn't my greatest workout. But yeah, I mean, just think a lot about risk management and all that good stuff. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.